I'm about to show you something that will change your life in terms of your woman life, your dating life, your seduction life, and certainly your relationship management life, any interactivity you have with women, really. And if you get what I'm about to show you in this video, I'm not joking, it will change your life, it will change your outlook, and it'll improve your woman life in ways you don't now understand. I am Caleb Jones, this is Alpha Male 2.0. I make a high location independent international income while dating multiple attractive women, and I show men like you how to do the same thing, and a key component of that is to understand the 3 different types of women. This is one of the most requested topics I have on this YouTube channel. Many of you have asked me to cover this, and this is an important topic, so I am more than happy to cover this. I've discussed this on my books and my blogs. I am very happy to finally do this in video format because this is a core, key concept for your dating life and for your relationship management type. If you understand this, your entire woman life gets much easier and much more fun and much more effective. If you don't understand this, and most men have no idea this exists, your woman life's gonna be very confusing, a lot of goddamn work, and a lot of problems. There are 3 different types of women, and these are not necessarily personality types, these are temperaments. And these are temperaments in terms of how these women interact with men in sexual and/or dating and/or serious relationships. There are 3 types of women, and every woman you meet, date, have sex with, marry, move in with, doesn't matter, falls into one of these 3 categories. And when you understand these 3 categories and you understand the differences between how these categories operate and how to manage these categories and how to be successful sexually or in relationships with these categories, you're gonna do really well in your woman life. And like I said, I keep saying this over and over again, this is gonna change your life if you get this. So make sure you get this. Here we go. Listed in no particular order. The first type of woman is the dominant. Now, when I say dominant, I am not talking about BDSM or S&M stuff. I'm not talking about a dom or submissive in terms of sex. This is very different. This has nothing to do with sex. This has to do with how she interacts with men in her dating life and her personal life and her relationship life. A dominant is a woman who has a reasonably strict agenda in terms of how she wants to date a man, and she is not very flexible about that agenda. She has this very specific picture about how a first date should look, a second date should look, when sex should occur, when she's dating a man, how he should behave, how she should behave. She's a very specific picture of how that works, and she is not willing to compromise on that picture at all. And if you even try to get her to compromise on that, she will be very upset. As you might imagine, dominant women are women who need to be in control in the relationship. They need to be at least 60-70% in control. They are not going to cede control in the relationship in any way whatsoever. And if you try to get them to cede control, they will get very upset with you. These are the types of women where when you pitch them for a first date, they already have the first date all planned out. So you say, hey, let's go out on Tuesday night. And they say, oh yes, that'd be great. We should go to this restaurant, and then we should go out and do this, and then we should do that, and then we should go to this bar, and then she has it all planned out. Or, in many cases, if you state what you want to do, hey, let's go get a drink, she'll be kind of irritated and pissed off because that's not how she envisions a first date. Oh no, a first date goes like this. We go to a restaurant, and then you do this, and then you do that, and you treat me like this, and you treat me like a lady. When you are in a relationship with a dominant, she will need to be in control of most of the major decisions in the relationship. If you try to assert control, you're going to get lots of resistance, lots of problems, and lots of drama. She's a dominant. She needs to be in charge. She needs to wear the pants in the relationship. Again, at least 60%. Now, with all these personality types, you have ranges. So there are dominants who are normal dominants, and there are dominants who are extreme dominants. Those women might need to be 90% or 100% in control, whereas the typical dominant might need to be 60 to 70% in control. So there's variations on this, but they're all dominants. Unfortunately, the dominant woman type is the dominant type in the world today. I would estimate that at least 60% of women in the Western world are now dominants. Dominant has become a societal norm. The dominant is the type of woman that is celebrated in pop culture, is the type of woman that mothers raise their daughters to be. It is now the norm in the culture to be a dominant badass bitch and to boss a guy around once you're in a relationship with him. So this is now a cultural norm. Just be aware of this and be aware that when you meet women out on the street, when you go on first dates, At least 60% of these women, unless you're very good at screening these women out, are going to be dominants. At least 60%, sometimes even more depending on the region you live in. Again, as always, I'm talking about the Western world here. I'm not talking about India or Asia or Africa. Those might be a little different. We're talking about the Western world. Most women in the Western world, at least 60%, are dominants, at least to some degree. I will explain how to date a dominant as an alpha male 2.0 at the end of this video. If you need help with structuring your relationship life or getting good at dating or getting good at first and second dates or managing your relationships, you can go to joinsmic.com. That is my monthly coaching and mentorship program. There's a lot of content there for very, very inexpensive. And you can work with me personally because I do several coaching calls, live coaching calls per month at that program. Check it out. It's the cheapest way to get access to the most amount of my content and the most amount of me. Now that brings us to the second type of woman, and that is the submissive. And again, when I say dominant and submissive, I am not talking about sex or BDSM. This is a temperament style. This is how women interact with men in their dating and relationship lives. The submissive is essentially the opposite of the dominant. Whereas the dominant needs to be in control of the relationship, the submissive doesn't like to be in control, and she would rather have a man, when she's dating someone, have the man make the big decisions, because that way if anything goes wrong, she can blame him and say it wasn't my decision. They don't like making big decisions. They don't like taking control. They'd rather not do that. They are more comfortable with a strong, more confident guy who kind of takes the reins. They tend to be nicer. They tend to be more sweet. They tend to be more feminine than dominants. Now, you might assume by what I just said that submissives are perfect and dominants are terrible. Wrong. Submissives are still women, and there are lots of downsides to dating a submissive. First of all, submissives take a lot of time. They're very needy. They call you all the time. They want to spend lots of time with you. If you don't spend time with them, or if you're busy, they get pissed off and they give you drama. They also tend to be more feminine, which means they tend to be more emotional. They tend to cry more often. They tend to complain more often. And yes, they can give you drama just like any other woman. It's not like submissive, perfect, dominant, terrible. There are pros and cons to both of these types of women. The great thing about a dominant, she's not up your ass all the time because she's busy doing her own stuff. There are some advantages of dating a dominant. There are some advantages of dating a submissive. There are disadvantages of dating a dominant or a submissive, both. Before I get to the third type of woman, you need to do something. You should subscribe to this channel. You should ring the notification bell and put a like on this video and leave a comment on this video. Doesn't really matter what you say. The more interactivity I get on this content, the more this content I will provide for you for free, so you're just helping yourself. And again, I will talk about how to date a submissive at the end of this video. The third type of woman is the independent. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. The independent woman is equivalent to a dominant, except she doesn't care what you do. So the independent is a loose, and I mean loose approximation of the female version of an alpha male 2.0. She is somewhat outcome independent, at least for a woman. So she is a strong, confident woman with a very specific agenda of what she wants and what she doesn't want. But unlike a dominant, she doesn't care what you do. She doesn't really care how you behave. She's off doing her own stuff. She can give a rat fuck about what you do or how you behave or what you do on a first date or things like that. That's the beauty of the independent. The independent kind of leaves you alone and doesn't try to boss you around like a dominant will. That's the beauty of the independent. However, as always, there are downsides to all three types of women. The downside of the independent there's a few of them. Number one, independents tend to be the most masculine personality types of women. So most independents tend to be more masculine. If you don't like masculine women, you're probably not going to be very excited about dating an independent because they tend to be more masculine. The second problem with independents is that they're not very emotionally available. They're not the kind of woman who likes to cuddle with you and spend a lot of time with you like the submissive. They're off doing their own things. Independents tend to be very busy with their friends, their school, their work, their hobbies, their family, traveling around the world. They're constantly doing stuff, and they're kind of hard to nail down in terms of scheduling and spending time with them. That might be a third downside of independence. But outside of those three negatives, dating an independent is great because they don't care what you do. You can be a very free man dating an independent, even if you're in a very serious relationship with an independent. Not bad. Now, how do you date these three women? How does that work in terms of relationships? As always, I teach things from an alpha male 2.0 perspective. That means you have long-term freedom in non-monogamous relationships with multiple women, FBs, MLTRs, or an OLTR, and so I give advice from that standpoint. So from that standpoint, here's how this works. Number one, you never date a dominant more than an FB. So if you meet a dominant, she can be an FB, and that's it, or you don't date her. If you, as an alpha male 2.0, attempt to date a dominant, you're gonna have nothing but nonstop explosions for the entire length of that relationship, assuming you even get far enough to have sex with her, which you probably won't. Most dominants, when you're an alpha male, will immediately sniff that on you on the first date and say, okay, whoa, not this guy. When I tell this guy to take out the trash, he's gonna laugh at me. Hell no. Dominants like beta males. Why? Because beta males are submissive. So you'll see most couples, the typical standard couple today in the Western world is what? A dominant woman with a beta male. There's a reason those two attract each other, right? Right. Are you a beta male? If you are, great, go date a dominant and enjoy your pain and suffering and your prison sentence for the rest of your life. If you're an alpha male, certainly an alpha male 2.0, you cannot date a dominant. It's just not possible. The best you can do is have an FB who is a dominant, and usually in those scenarios, she needs to have like a boyfriend or something, or else she's gonna start bossing you around. But if you can make that work, dominance, really good in bed. Really good in bed. Dominants are very, very good in bed. So if you can swing that, get a dominant to FB who already has a boyfriend or a guy she's dating, so she puts all of her dominant tendencies on him instead of you, that can work. Other than that, do not date a dominant ever more than a pure FB. No dominant MLTRs, certainly no dominant OLTR. Submissives. Should you date a submissive as an alpha male 2.0? Yes. Submissives are very good for the alpha male 2.0, obviously. However, you need to be aware of their downsides. Submissives take more time. Submissives take more effort. Once you're in a relationship with her, she might be very feminine, she might be very sweet, she might be very pretty. That's all good. Submissives are great. But once you're in a relationship with her, she's gonna be needy. She's gonna constantly pressure you for something more serious. Once you get something more serious with her, she's gonna constantly push you for more time to spend with her. She'll be contacting you a lot. She needs a lot of support, a lot of emotional support. You'll be putting up a lot of emotions. If you're the kind of guy that doesn't like that shit, you maybe should avoid submissives or maybe keep them as FBs only. Independents. Should you date an independent? Yes, independents are fucking perfect. Not perfect, but they're as close to perfect as you can get for the alpha male 2.0 because you're basically dating a woman who's gonna let you do whatever you want. She doesn't really care what you're doing. But again, if you're the kind of guy who needs a woman to be a little more emotionally available, a little more emotionally connected, a little more cuddly and foofy with you, the independent's not great because independents tend to be a little masculine, they tend to be a little cold. So basically the summary is alpha male 2.0 dominance, no, unless it's an FB. Submissives and independents, yes, as long as you understand the downsides of each. And you probably have an idea as I'm going through in this video, what type of woman you probably like the best as an alpha male 2.0. If this is something you want me to discuss more about in future videos, go into greater detail on how to manage or date these three types of women, certainly let me know in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Have fun. Bye.